So hello again, everyone. My name is Erica and I work at Clio as the Content Marketing Manager for the EMEA region. So I'm delighted to be joined by someone regular Clio webinar attendees will know well. That's Geraldine O'Reilly, our Senior Marketing Manager. If you attend any of these events, it's usually Geraldine that you'll see. So we're both going to be chatting to you today about a topic that we know a lot of law firms want to do more of, but aren't sure where to start, especially if they're on a budget, and that's digital marketing. So I'm going to move in just a little bit of housekeeping. So we'll get to the crux of the topic in just a few minutes, but a couple of things I want to cover for everyone's information. So this session will be 45 minutes. We'll do our best to get you out by 11:45. If you need to drop off before, we'll be recording this session and we will send the recording to everyone who's registered tomorrow. We want lots of Q&A and commentary, so keep that chat busy. And make sure to use the chat function to chat with your fellow attendees, again, using the drop-down option for everybody. And use the Q&A function to ask questions that you would like to ask myself or Geraldine. And it's always good if it's for someone specific, just to note who you're asking the question to. So I'm going to move into our agenda. And our agenda for today is going to cover a lot of ground, just to warn you, including creating and distributing content, building and honing your website, building your brand on social media, gathering and utilizing reviews online, and measuring and tracking your efforts. We'll also make sure there's time at the end for any questions you might have. So if you're looking over this list of items and thinking, how the heck am I going to achieve all that? Don't worry. As I said, the term digital marketing covers a multitude. Some might see that as an overwhelming concept, but actually it's an opportunity. If you can get to grips with 3, 2, or even one of the topics covered here today, that will set you up for success and start you on a path that you can build upon. So don't expect to come away and tackle all of these at once. Pick 1 to 2 areas and tips and take them on first, and then come back to the session and choose another. So as I said, we'll be sending you the recording of the session in the coming days, so you can revisit it as often as you like. You can share it with a colleague. And we'll also be sending you a free copy of our brand new digital marketing guide, which covers all of this extensively. So next slide, please, Geraldine. So very quickly, a quick slide before we get into our session today. I know a few of you on the call are interested in learning more about Clio and how it can help your firm. So when it comes to what Clio does in terms of our products, I'd just say that we won't be going into a lot of detail on that today, but we're going to launch a poll for those interested in learning more about the product. Whilst that poll is running, just a little overview as to what Clio is and does. So there are 2 main solutions to Clio. There's Clio Manage, which is our core practice management solution, offering you everything you need for practice management in the cloud on any device, whether you are a Mac or Windows user. I use both. There's also a downloadable app for Android phones and for the iPhone. And key features with Clio Manage include time recording, unlimited document storage, e-signatures, a client portal, billing, and of course, matter management. And our second solution is Clio Grow. This software helps firms by automating the client intake process, so helping firms at that very early stage of managing a potential client. With Clio Grow's CRM software, you will be able to engage and retain new clients in a matter of moments. And you can connect it to your website, which is important for today, for online intake forms and your calendar for scheduling, so you can reduce that back and forward to be able to get someone in the diary quicker than you might otherwise. So together, the Clio Manage and Clio Grow solution are known as Clio Suite. However, Clio Manage comes as a separate package too. Now, some of you may be using one or both softwares already, so simply let us know on the poll. And just a little more info on why over 150,000 legal professionals use Clio. So Clio is the leader in cloud-based legal technology, offering practice management, CRM, which is client relationship management, and client intake software, document automation, and more. Clio is trusted by over 150,000 law firms, legal departments, and other legal professionals to manage their files. And some of these folks are featured on screen now. That's about as far as we'll be going today in regards to what Clio offers. So for those who are interested in learning more, whether that be a little or a lot, please let us know via this poll. So I'm just going to give us just another moment for anyone that hasn't responded but would like to. Great, so I'm going to close our poll. If you didn't get a chance to participate, or you picked the wrong option accidentally, or you changed your mind, just pop us a note in the chat and we'll follow up with you after. Okay, so back to our main discussion for today, and I'm going to start with another poll, this one related to the topic of the webinar. So it's a really good one for us to be able to see where everyone's head is in terms of digital marketing. So our question this time is, Why do you want to do more digital marketing? So I've given you a few options for an answer. To get more clients, to increase revenue, to build my brands, because I think I should. FOMO, which is fear of missing out for anyone that's not familiar with the term. So that's basically others are doing it, so I should do it too. Or I'm not really sure. Or if you have another reason that's not covered there, pop it into the chat, and it would be interesting to know. So yeah, we're getting some good responses in there now. Okay, so yeah, it looks like we have a winner, which is to get more clients. So that came out in front, and then it was to build my brands, and then to increase revenue was the third option. Nice to see that people weren't using, because I think I should, because that's not a great place to start with digital marketing, and that nobody has FOMO. That's great that it's not that they're doing it because they're seeing other people doing it, because that's possibly not a great reason to start it. So I'm going to move on now, and a question. What is digital marketing? So I think it might be useful to give a definition of what digital marketing is for anyone who's not familiar with it or who knows a little bit about it but is unsure of the terminology. And there's a lot of terminology when it comes to digital marketing. It's any kind of marketing online you use to build awareness of your firm or your own brand, attract clients, and ultimately gain income and exposure. You'll often hear it referred to as online marketing, and it's the equivalent of setting out a stall online. So why is it important? Got a big statistic for you here. So next slide, please, Geraldine. Oh, there was a time when more traditional marketing methods or just plain old word of mouth was enough to attract clients. And that's still the case for a lucky few, but they're a lucky few. And for everyone else, you need to be where potential clients can find you. And as that statistic highlights, these days the place to be is online. So that is a whopping statistic. 96% of people who seek legal advice search online as their first port of call. So don't panic if you're not marketing online yet. Research consistently shows that a lot of law firms, especially smaller ones, are slow to adopt a digital marketing strategy. So you're right where you need to be, and in a good place to get started. So there are a lot of digital marketing techniques and types that you could focus on and that this webinar could focus on. But for the purpose of getting you started, we're going to focus on 5 key core areas of concentration that you can start right now and that you can do with little or no budget. So the 5 key core areas that we're going to concentrate on are content, which I'm going to speak to you about, websites, which I'm also going to speak to you about, social media, online reviews, and tracking your success, all of which my colleague Geraldine will speak to. So first things first, for getting focus, think about the following 5 questions. So 1, how much budget do I have to spend, if any? 2, how much time do I have to spend on digital marketing? 3, what skills do I already have? 4, where am I most comfortable? For example, do you hate writing out long content but love to speak at events or on camera? That's something that you should lean into. And then 5 is the biggie. What can you be the most consistent with? For example, there's no point in deciding that you're going to start a blog, because a lot of people do this, then post 2 blogs and never post again. To have any success in marketing, you need to be consistent. And that's, if there's one thing I can really emphasize, consistency is the thing. With a smaller budget, most times slow and steady will win the race. So by asking yourself all of those questions up front, you'll save yourself a lot of time, energy, and possibly wasted money and frustration figuring out what works for you. So I'm going to jump into creating and distributing content. So creating content can be one of the most affordable ways to get started with digital marketing. What do I mean by content? Content is what in the good old days one might have referred to as informational material, media, or copy. Nowadays, it refers to any consumable piece of material that is created with the intention of being accessed by a reader, viewer, or listener. So that's a broad definition, to be sure. So digging down a bit more into specific types of content, I've put together a list of content types that you might consider. These are blog posts, guest articles online, explainer videos, podcasts, and white papers or guides. So all of these items can be created at little to no cost, often with equipment you already own, and can be very impactful. Which one is best for you? Well, that depends on you. A lot of lawyers love to write detailed guides and explanations. So blog posts, short articles that you publish on a regular basis, or white papers or guides might be the way to go for those people. There are trade-offs for doing blog posts and guides. A blog post is often quicker to write than a guide, but you generally need to publish them regularly to see traction. A guide might take longer, but you only need to publish one every so often, and you can remarket it again and again. if you can't commit the time to do either of those regularly, guest articles might suit you better. So can you approach a local blog site or online publication and offer to write for them for free in exchange for a link to your website or LinkedIn profile? Or if you're not a writer by nature, recording short explainer videos of common legal issues could gain you a lot of attention, and search engines love videos. You can record perfectly good videos on a mobile phone and host them on your website, social media, or YouTube. Or are you more comfortable speaking? Are there any local, well-regarded podcasts that you could offer to appear on, speaking to an issue that their listeners will care about? Could you start your own podcast? You can record decently on your phone or laptop and upload for free to a lot of podcast sites. So the key is to choose something that you're comfortable doing, not what you think you should be doing or that you see others doing. You'll be more likely to stick to it and in turn continue to develop your skills. So lastly, my single most important tip for good content: know and speak to your audience. Often I see solicitors writing content that speaks to other solicitors, and that's great if your typical client is likely to be a solicitor. But if that isn't your typical client, you need to change what you're doing. You have to make sure that any content you create is something that your clients, not other solicitors, will understand, engage with, and feel helped by. So a lot of ground covered there. I can answer more in the chat, but I'm going to move to building and honing your website. So our next area of focus is the law firm website. If you don't already have one, you need to strongly consider getting one. There are plenty of free website providers available, including WordPress, Squarespace, and Wix. You can also get a very basic website for a budget of £500 to £2,000, depending on what you're doing with it. So you may not know this, but if you're using Clio Grow, Clio's client relationship management software that's available as part of Clio Suite, you can also get a totally free website builder like this one. It's super simple to use. You choose a website address, fill in a form, and then publish your website. So into what we can do to make our websites fantastic. So websites are a big enough topic that we could have an entire webinar on them, and we have before. And I could delve into a lot of technical terms such as SEO, which means search engine optimization, backlinks, mobile readability, and more. So we delve into that in a lot of detail in the free guide, which we will link in the chat. So make sure to download that if it's a big area of interest for you. For this webinar, I'm going to give you 3 tips that will make a massive difference to any website. So one is provide clear and relevant information in clear, easy to understand language. So when someone gets to your website, they should know very rapidly what it is, why they should use you, and how they can work with you. 2, add in images. So clients are seeking you out to get a feel for you and your team, if you have one. So make sure they can put a face to the name. If you can't afford professional headshots for everyone, try to take a picture of everyone on the same day in clear light against a neutral background, so a grey or a white background. 3, add clear calls to action. So this means making sure that if someone wants to hire you or get in touch, they know how they can do that. A lot of law firms bury their email address or phone number at the bottom of the page or buried deep within the website. Don't do that. So what you want to do instead is tell people exactly how to get in touch with you wherever you can. And if possible, add a link to a contact form or email address. So when I say call to action, I literally mean a call to action. Tell your website viewer exactly what you want them to do by adding phrasing such as contact us here, get in touch with me at whatever your email address is, phone now on whatever your phone number is to book a consultation. So if you take nothing else from this entire website section, take this one tip. Think of your website as a shopfront window. That means that anyone looking in the window of your firm sees a welcoming, helpful, and professional business that can help them to address their needs. So now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Geraldine. Thanks.
Super. Thank you, Erica. A lot of really, really helpful tips there that also really set us up well for this next section, which is building your brand on social media. So as Erica has mentioned, each of these sections could be a webinar or a whole day of content in themselves, but I'll take you through some quick tips. First, I'd like to put a question to everyone, and that is, what is branding? And feel free to enter your thoughts in the Zoom chat. And whilst you're doing that, I'll take you through my thoughts on what branding is. So branding is more than just a name. It's that feeling you get for a business. And that feeling isn't established overnight. It needs consistent effort, as Erica was talking about with the content side of the house. It really needs consistent effort to maintain, and sometimes you might even have to rebuild your brand. A brand is really the identity behind a person, a service, or a product. So we all know big brands. I'm, for instance, using a MacBook right now. So Apple is a brand. What do I think of when I think of Apple? Well, I think of the slickness, the clean finish, it's polished, it's reliable, security. And these are all the multiple feelings that I have and thoughts, but it paints a picture for sentiment towards a person, a service, or a product. So think of that when you're thinking of your brand and the brand that you want to portray to your clients or to fellow solicitors. And lawyers and law firms are no different to the rules of branding. So in fact, reputation is critical when it comes to lawyers and law firms. So you could say brand is even more important. But as a lawyer, how do you build one? And how do you build one on a budget? We all don't have billions to spend on brand. So what I'd like to think about then is, what do you do when you wake up first thing in the morning? You switch off your alarm. For me, I might do that 3 or 4 times, like this morning. I checked my emails and then I scrolled through social media. For me, again, that's Instagram or LinkedIn, but for you, it might be TikTok, it might be YouTube, it might be Twitter, Facebook. And that's the case for most people these days. The average UK user spends 102 minutes on social media every day. So why not put those minutes to good use and use those platforms to build your brand? And the best part is they are completely free. So now some practical steps to building your personal brand. And these go for social media, but also for other avenues too. So first, understand your what and your why so that others can too. So if you are a law firm owner, you may have already done a lot of this in deciding to run your own business. But for a sole practitioner or even for an employee, it's a question that you should put to yourself. Ask yourself, what is important to you and what do you want to be known for? Then find out what audience you want to reach. So again, going back to where Erica was talking about with content, knowing your audience is really important. Find out where they hang out. So for instance, you might practice commercial law and deal with a lot of startups. Then LinkedIn will be the platform, or potentially the platform for you. Or perhaps you're a wills and probate solicitor and tend to work with older clients. Then it could be Facebook. That's the platform for you. What's really important here is not to go out and spin up 8, 9, 10 social media platforms that you then have to manage and try and get content out through. Start with the ones that you really think your audience is going to be on. And then create relevant content for that audience. So again, tying back to Erica's point on content. What format suits your audience? What do they want to hear about? And some of this is trial and error. And then last is not to forget that personal brand and the difference between personal brand and company brand. So for those firms or law firm owners who are thinking long term, then your personal brand could be very different to the one your company has. An example of this may be your firm is practicing multiple areas of law, but you yourself are a family lawyer. So your personal brand is more linked to that. But you might have other team members that are practicing other areas of law. So your company brand actually needs to be all encompassing, but your personal brand could be different. So be careful not to box yourself off as well from the company perspective. And finally, a top tip of the day is done is better than perfect. So don't sit around and wait for the perfect color scheme, that perfect worded article or video. Get it out there, learn and build on it. And here are some examples of some folks in the legal space that I know are doing a really great job of building their personal brand and doing a lot of it on a budget too. Both folks here, Alistair Wells and Eleanor Manukian, are both from startup firms in the UK. They started, I think it was in 2020. I see Eleanor's in the chat. And Alistair and Eleanor are really well known within the startup community, and so early in their careers and their businesses. Both have used social media, particularly LinkedIn, to build and maintain their brand. And I recommend taking a look at their profiles and giving them a quick follow to learn from their approaches. And I also want to highlight 2 others. So Alice Stevenson, who a lot of people are probably very familiar with. Alice is paving the way worldwide for a new generation of lawyer and law firm. And also Rob Hanna, not a lawyer, but definitely still in the legal space for sure. And both Alice and Rob are certainly ones to watch for inspiration. Again, LinkedIn in particular. And personal brand goes hand in hand with content creation. And you can see that especially with Rob's approach to content creation, where he is a top podcaster and now also delving into video. And what I'd like to call out here is Alice and Rob Both have more followers on their personal accounts than they do on their company. However, their company accounts still have significant followers. So again, going back to that point of putting effort into both your personal brand and your company brand and having a clear distinction between the two. The next area I want to talk about, so I've just covered off on brand, but if you have any questions, pop them into the chat. So the next area that I'll chat through is how to gather and utilize positive reviews online. First off, why is this important to consider? Well, 72% of consumers trust online reviews as much as they would a personal recommendation. And we see it here at Clio all the time when it comes to folks considering purchasing our software, and lawyers see it too. And the SRA has recognised this, and in 2021, they ran a joint client review project with the Council of Licensed Conveyancers, Silex, and the Bar Standards Board. And they invited law firms to participate in order to encourage clients to post reviews about the services they received, developing meaningful quality indicators, which can help potential clients choose their legal services provider. It's also worth noting that if you're going for Lexel accreditation, it incorporates how law firms are managing client feedback as well as part of the assessment process. So it is super important, and gathering online reviews from existing clients can do wonders to boost your firm's reputation, build trust, and a knock-on effect is more requests and more pipeline for your firm. So some steps for gathering online reviews. Quite simple, ask for them. You've put in the hard work to work with that client, and most people say yes when you ask for a review. And do it in a timely manner. So don't wait 6 months after the case is closed. Do it early in the process when the client remembers how they felt about your service and the outcome. Make it easy to do. So don't send a 10-page survey to a client after you've worked with them. Make it super, super simple. Maybe it's a 1-page Google form, or you could just send them a message on email and they email it back to you. And build it into existing processes. So for instance, an automated email after a case closes. And a tip here is, well, we all fear asking for feedback. And this is generally, we all fear that feedback element because we're afraid of the unknown and a potential for negative feedback. Well, what do you do when that negative feedback comes in? Wait a minute before replying. The standard rule of thumb is to reply. However, a poorly handled response can really escalate matters. So treat it as you would normal feedback and analyze it. Put the client's hat on and take a look and verify if it's a legitimate negative review, if it's a piece of feedback that you should action. And in some cases, you could actually turn it into an opportunity. So thank them for their feedback. And we've actually changed X, Y, or Z because of this feedback. And others may see that response, and it goes back to that brand element and that reputation and the identity that you're trying to create for your firm. So one tool I'd like to highlight is Google My Business. And best part of it, it's free to set up. And Google reviews are extremely important. So think about it. One of the first things that clients do is they will Google your firm. And now in addition here is that Clio actually integrates with Google My Business for free. So you can set up your Google My Business account through Clio. And you can also schedule time, or clients can schedule time through Google into your Clio account. Another tool that I want to mention is review solicitors. So this automates the collection of reviews through your case management system. So for instance, if that is Clio or a different case management system, you can look into that integration. And at the point when your fee earner closes a matter in Clio, review solicitors will send them an email with your firm's branding, asking for a review about their experience. If you have Google Reviews and Google My Business set up and an integration there, it will leave the review on Google Reviews, or you can actually have the review hosted on Review Solicitors. Now, this tool isn't free, but it is worth checking out. And they've also been working with the SRA on that pilot program that I mentioned earlier. So already today, we've touched on creating brand, building websites, using social media to build your brand, and collecting reviews online. But what good are all of these efforts if you can't show proof of all your hard work? And that is why measurement and tracking is so essential and an important factor when planning your digital marketing approaches. So the good news is there are lots of reporting tools available to help. We live in a world of data and we are constantly creating data. And some tools have a cost and others don't. So some of the free tools that I want to highlight are Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and even a tool called Hotjar, that you can use all of these tools to analyze and understand website visits. Then you've also got social media platforms, and they give you metrics for followers, visits, views. Or if you're using multiple social media platforms, maybe you're at that stage, you might even want to try Hootsuite for scheduling, and it will give you performance metrics as well. Then if you're doing email marketing, you can use the email marketing tools that you're using, or MailChimp, for instance, has a free platform up to a certain extent of sends, and that can be used to measure performance, and you could set some goals and targets there. And then from a pipeline management perspective, your CRM, so your customer relationship management software. So if you use one, you can likely get insights on client pipeline, for example, Clio Grow, if it is your CRM software. And I'll touch on that in a moment. So the top tip here is to find out what reporting comes out of the box with any platforms that you are using before you try to purchase or buy any reporting tools. Then set some goals and targets and measure yourself to them and see what improvements you can make. And to touch on Clio Grow for a moment, with it, you can see what platforms are driving revenue and what's feeding your pipeline. Is it your website? Is it certain social media sites? Do you have certain law firms or referrers that are sending you business? And you can track all of that with Clio Grow. And I recently heard of a firm who used Clio Grow and the analytics tools within it to decide a certain practice area wasn't worth the effort anymore. So when they looked at potential clients coming in, how much there's effort they were spending on bringing in those clients, and the end result, the ROI wasn't there. So instead, they doubled down on the practice areas that were bringing in the revenue. So before I finish, I do want to highlight some key areas of consideration when working on your digital marketing strategy. First up, compliance. So there are a lot of rules and regulations when it comes to marketing and law firm marketing in particular. So it's worth reading up on what those are. The SRA has a lot of guidance on that, but depending on what jurisdiction you're in, there's the regulatory body for that jurisdiction will have guidance. So do spend some time reading up on that. It's also worth being aware of different laws like GDPR and how you're handling data that you're processing. The second thing to really consider is capacity. Do you actually have enough time to invest in marketing and all the things that you want to do? It may be you are up the walls and you just simply cannot get to everything. So you could look at outsourcing, or you could look at bringing somebody in to help. And the top tip I have here is that if you decide to work with someone, make sure it's someone who understands the nuances that come with law firm marketing. For instance, there are legal marketing agencies out there, people like Rachel Toombs, who we've had on some of our webinars recently from Orion Legal Marketing. She specializes in, and her team specialize in law firm marketing. So even if you outsource, it's also worth remembering you're still accountable. It is your brand that is at stake. And with that, we've talked a lot. We're going to open up the floor now to questions. So if you do have questions, and there may have been some that were coming in over the chat, so pop them in and we'll try and cover off on them. So we have a question here from Carl. I would like some guidance on social media presence. So Carl, if you could get a little bit more specific on what it is you would like, because there's a lot of guidance that could be provided. We can share our guide with you, which has a little bit more details, but it really depends on what platform and audience that you're really trying to get going. And then the guidance is quite different per platform. So send us a little bit more on that. Do you recommend any review sites? So yes, I would recommend Google reviews and also review solicitors if it's relevant for your jurisdiction. Stephen, a question here. I post short videos to TikTok and Insta 3 to 4 times per week. Do you think that would work on LinkedIn too? Would LinkedIn users be turned off by such frequent posts? So that's a really interesting one. A general rule of thumb has been on LinkedIn to post typically no more than once or twice a day. So I think 3 to 4 times a week is actually fine. I'd be keen to know if other people have thoughts on it as well. So feel free to pop into chat, but I think 3 to 4 times per week is totally fine. Erica, if you have anything to add there, feel free to come in, because I know it kind of crosses into content as well.
Yeah, it depends on what you're posting. So one thing I'd say that we want to avoid, and it's probably everyone's instinct when they're doing this sort of stuff, it's not too much self-promotion. So if it's stuff that is useful, if your practice area is family law, for example, and you're posting 3 or 4 videos with helpful tips on the divorce process or on ways to make custody matters easier, or something that's useful to people, people won't resent seeing you again and again. But if you are posting 4 times a week and it's I'm great, this is why my firm's great, or it's not stuff that people will find relevant, it could potentially lose you followers. So there's no hard and fast rules for social media. I've attended LinkedIn's own training. They say once a week can be very effective for people, and because their algorithms actually favor older posts. So I mean, try the 3 to 4 times a week. Look at your metrics, see how it's going. If you're seeing traction with one particular thing, or you're seeing a lot of views on something, keep it up. If you're finding that you're getting a low response, try to maybe do it twice a week, and just experiment and see what results that you get from either approach. So the thing with marketing, and I would like it to be more of one, is it's not an exact science. It does take some experimentation to figure out what works for you and what works for your audience. But yeah, there's no hard reason why you shouldn't do it 4 times a week. Just measure and make sure that you're getting the results that you would like to.
Thank you, Erica. And I'd also say you could even look at, well, what is the top, if you're posting 3 or 4 times a week on TikTok and Insta, what's the top one? And take that and put it on LinkedIn. Could be a way of still getting information out there, but having more of an experiment as to which is the best performing. Okay, we'll move on here.
I just say Stephen's commented to say that his videos are tips about drink driving, speeding, etc., and he doesn't do any self-promotion. I think that is, that's perfect. You can do a small bit of self-promotion here and there, but it should be a once in a while thing, not every video. But no, it sounds like those will be quite effective. One thing I'd caution is maybe don't make them super long. A lot of your viewers are going to be viewing on a phone, and they're going to be viewing in between other things. So yeah, try to keep them in a small and digestible format, but that sounds like a good approach, Stephen.
Thank you, Erica. We have another question here. Debbie is wondering how to physically gather reviews via Google Forms or some other way. So yeah, you could use a Google form. There's free tools as well. You've got like SurveyMonkey and different tools like that. You could look, some of those email platforms also have survey functions as well. So you could use that. You could also, the review solicitors option as well. So there are different options out there. I'm going to skip on here to James's question. I've just started a firm. What social media platforms should I set up? So again, this goes back to the really understanding your audience. And I see Marion has a question in here. They're a small criminal law firm. What social media platforms should they be using? Really understanding your audience. What's the demographics? So are they young? Are they old? What platforms are they using? And then deciding from there, okay, it's likely that we should be using that one. Some people do use LinkedIn anyway for referrals, because referrals is a big part of law firm marketing as well. So you're getting business from other lawyers. So you could use LinkedIn, but the audience for that is lawyers. So it's not necessarily your clients, but you're talking to lawyers who have a reach and have connections with clients as well. Yes, more questions coming in here. From Ben, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, actually, we go back up to Kieran. As a firm, we have a page for each of our 6 branches. Should this be condensed down and focused into one? Erica, I'm going to come to you on that one.
That is a good question. And there are pros and cons to having one that is amalgamated and one for each of those locations. So yeah, it's a tricky question. In terms of usefulness, it's handy to have a lot of that information in one spot. But in terms of SEO, which is what you really want to get people onto your site, having each of those 6 pages is very, very useful. So I would say somewhere in the middle, can you do one page that links out to each of those 6 pages? So one that gives a general overview of this is our firm and we have offices in this place, this place, this place. Because that gives a nice impression of your firm and how wide its reach is, and speaks very, very, very well of your regional coverage. But within each of those, link out to those regional pages for anyone that specifically wants information on it. So I hope that helps a little bit, Kieran. But if you want to follow up with to ask any more information, please do. Oh, good. Glad it's helpful, Kieran. I'll also say that if you are using those regional pages, make sure that you actually mention a couple of times where they are, because that is something that people might do once on the page and then never again. So if, for example, you are offering criminal law in Manchester, you want to put as often as you can in a natural way, we are a criminal law firm in Manchester. We help with these cases. If you have a criminal law matter that you would like help for in Manchester. So yeah, just think like what somebody is searching for, and make sure that you are what someone's looking for, and make sure your language reflects that.
Thank you, Erica. And I see some good tips going in there around reviews and how to collect them, and also when potentially not to collect them. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions in here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any. So let's see, we've one from Ben here. I'd like to offer more on social media in terms of engagement and interactivity, but find it hard to post anything other than links from resources and articles. Do you have any recommendations for things to make our social media presence more interactive and engaging? Yes, so we have a webinar that I'll share with you, Ben, after this, where we brought in, it was an expert on social media branding and branding, Amelia Sardell. There's a lot of tips. You don't necessarily have to create content net new. You can repost others' content. Obviously, you still want to give them credit. So definitely still link. Don't ever take someone's post and just copy it word for word. The world is small and it will get back to them, but you can take inspiration from other people's posts. So that's one strategy you could look at. Taking other content that you're putting out as well and reformatting it, so you're not creating net new all the time. And also just get something up there, get something out there, and as you start doing it more and more, it'll become more natural. So you could start off with shorter form posts and then start going into more longer posts. I know folks do both formats, or depending on what format of content creation you enjoy most, whether that is video or it's written format. Depending on that, you can try that out as well. So I hope that helps, Ben. Okay, I think we're getting there on questions. A question there just do folks have good experience with Google reviews, especially with negative reviews? So I think a few folks have answered that already in our chat, but if you do have thoughts on that, feel free to reply in the chat on that. You are the law firms, so you're the ones that are doing or collecting reviews as well, so you're all experts in your own right. Erica, you can come in there.
Yeah, I have a thought on that. So I'd say, one, don't be afraid of negative reviews, because you can show your professionalism and your level of client service by how you answer and engage with it. It can also highlight areas that are gaps in your firm, that you can address, and make sure like that feedback is valuable while public, but to show a potential client that yes, we heard this concern, we have taken these steps to improve on it. that's incredibly valuable. Also, make sure that you are collecting enough Google reviews. So people are gonna, if you have Google reviews available, people are gonna review there, and the people who review you typically are going to be the people that either really loved you or were really mad at you. So that is why it's so important to build in review collection into your process, as you catch people when they're likely to be happiest with you, when you have dealt with their case, not when they are online with an axe to grind and looking to cause you a little bit of online pain. So by focusing on those people who are likely to give you positive reviews or neutral reviews, because not every relationship is going to be a fantastic one. On balance, you should see that your reviews are more positive or more negative, or not negative. So yeah, one negative review in a mix of them is not a bad thing. I know personally, when I look at reviews, I look at the negative ones, and if I can see it's someone with an axe to grind, I immediately go, okay, well, that's someone with an axe to grind. So yeah, don't shy away from them. They will happen, even if you try to avoid them. But the best action is to make sure that you're counteracting that with positive reviews.
Really helpful, Erica. And I actually think another thing, even just an exercise, if you have your Google profile set up, go and see when the last review was. If it's been a few years, that's something, maybe an action you could take is, okay, how can I get more reviews up there? Because that's something I also look at as well, is how long ago was that review. With that, I'm going to crack on because we're getting close to our Q2 mark. But if you do have more questions or comments, keep them coming in. You can download a free guide where we go into a lot more detail on this subject and the subjects covered in today's webinar. So you can refer back to that, bookmark it. There's a code on screen right now. So feel free to scan that if you have a QR code scanner, or you can visit clio.com/guides. I'll leave that up for a moment. And Erica has just shared the link as well. So thank you for that, Erica. So again, that's free to download. We also have our next webinar, which is just next week. So it's called Navigating Digital Disruption in the Legal Industry. And we'll feature James Farah of Farah Law and David Turney of Avery Law. And this webinar will delve into the specific tools that have helped these firms stay ahead of the curve. So both speakers will share their experience using technology to streamline and enhance their operations while setting up their firms for continued success. And it's brought to you in partnership with one of our partners, Clio. So Erica will share the link for that as well in the chat. Thank you, Erica. And you can register for that, again, completely free. And finally, I'd like to call out an exciting event that we have coming up on March 29th. We will be hosting an in-person event in Manchester. And it's part of our popular Innovate Legal event series, which is an event series built for our Clio community, free to attend. And guest speakers on that evening include the amazing Jody Hill from Thrive Law, legal marketing expert and qualified solicitor Rachel Toombs from Orion Legal Marketing, who I referred to earlier, and Alex Holt, who is the Chief Revenue Officer at the Cash Room. And it'll be emceed by our very own Sarah Murphy, who's our General Marketing Manager here in the UK and Ireland. And again, Erica will share, thank you, you've shared the link there. So yeah, that is free to attend March 29th. Get it in your calendar, come along, have a drink, have some food, and listen to some fantastic content. And again, lots of marketing content will be covered. So if you're in the area, do pop in. And as always, if you have any questions about today or would like to talk about Clio or our product or our service, please let us know. You can contact us via the details on screen right now, or pop myself or Erica a note. We're very active on social media, so you can reach out to us there. And until next time, I will just leave you with a take care message, and we'll see you again. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Erica.